strikes me that a big essential component of all of your work is about place and location. And I know that you grew up in Hackney, and I wanted to know if the film being a very London kind of centralised story had any kind of, if that played a part and you wanted to make the film.
Yeah, absolutely. When I first got a call to asking me would I be interested in making a film about Amy Winehouse, one of the biggest motivations for wanting to do the film was the fact that I haven't made anything at home for a long, long time. I haven't made a feature in England. And it just felt like it was about her, but it's also about her part of Camden and North London. And for about 10 years, I lived in Primrose Hill, Kentish Town, worked in Camden. I knew that area very well. And it just felt like that was finally the story that I was searching for, finally the subject that meant I could actually make a film about this place and the city, which I love, but also, which has a few issues. And they all kind of come together, particularly in a place like Camden or Hackney or wherever. Creativity and the edginess all mixed together.
And in terms of the process and your approach, Senna obviously being the kind of phenomenal success that it was, this has must have had a very similar feel in the sense that it was another subject matter where there must have been an ocean of content out there for you to somehow navigate and make sense of and kind of find the story in there. Can you tell us a bit about how you set about that sort of task?
Well, there was a bit of a split. There was a lot of performance material. There was a lot of stuff of Amy doing concerts. A lot of cameras, and for me, not many of them were great performances. And I didn't really understand why at the time. There was a real shortage of behind-the-scenes material. That was a problem. So for a long time, I wasn't really sure whether there was a film there. I wasn't sure if there was enough material to make a movie. There was a real breakthrough at a particular stage when I got introduced to Nick Szymanski, the first manager, and it was really Nick and I meeting and talking and him trusting me enough to open up that felt like, okay, we've had a bit of a breakthrough. He was a big fan of Senna, which helped, and had seen the film, was walking down the street in Notting Hill when it was raining and sort of said to his girlfriend, why don't we get out of the rain, let's go and see this movie, it's meant to be good. And she's like, I don't give a shit about racing cars. And they went to see it, and luckily they both liked it and came out. And he said to his girlfriend, wouldn't it be great if one day someone make a film like that about Amy? And it was about a year or so later that I called him, and he said, look, that'd be great. I did say that, but it's too soon. I think it's all too raw still. But he agreed to meet. And we just got along and we connected. And after a short time of talking, he opened up his laptop and said, look, I do have these videos. And he showed me all of these videos of her performing and them traveling around. And just, he had a mini DV camera. And he just started filming everything. And for me, that was like a big moment where I thought, okay, one, I've never seen her looking like that. She's really funny. It's really intimate. It's really like just the two of them messing around. It really is just friends messing around. But she just happens to grow up to become this big star. And I could sort of at least see the journey. I saw the beginning and I knew what the ending was. And he then introduced me to Lauren and Juliet, the two friends, and put a word in. They also had no interest in talking to anyone. It took about 9 months to get the Lauren and Juliet to open up, really. It took a long time. It's a long period of getting people to trust me, really.
And did they have materials as well?
Yeah, so like the home videos of, when Amy's showing you around the apartment in Mallorca, that's all Lauren's footage. The happy birthday footage. Lauren's family shot a lot. So Lauren had a video camera, and so all of the home videos, whenever they're on holiday, any of that is all from Lauren. And Juliet had lots of photographs. So some of those photographs of when they're young and going off on holidays and just messing around in the flat, all of that from Juliet. So that was really the intimate stuff, the really close, friendly stuff came from those three people, really.
And so just in terms of the sheer volume of stuff, and you worked with Chris King, the editor, again.
Same team as Senna, really.
Same team, yeah.
Research team, same producer, same editor. There's the same gang of essentially about 10, 12 people who made both films. A bunch of friends who just come together, pretty basic group of people. And it was really kind of, we were just left alone. We had spent a couple of years on it and just went off and made the film. It was really an interesting experience of no script, just an instinct and follow it.
One of the things, I'm not sure if the audience will agree with me, but when I watched it, one of the things that was very obvious to me was that the emotional power of the film, one of the things about it is the presence of Amy throughout. And was that something that you intended from the start, or was that something that came in as the process was happening?
Just so expressive. There's just something about her face and her body shape and her eyes, particularly at the beginning. They're just so bright and amazing, you know. So it just seemed like I just wanted to look at her, you know, just have her face. And it's always changing. It's always shifting. She's losing weight or gaining weight, or something's going on in her face or her hair. And it just seemed to fit that I didn't really want to look at anyone else. I just wanted to look at her. But there was a shortage of material. So on this film, unlike with Senna, I decided quite early on that we would use stills and we would use photographs. And they kind of brought you to a particular moment in time. And one of the things that I found quite early on with Nick's footage was this fact, because he's filming and he's holding the camera, she looks directly at him. She's looking at the lens, she's looking at you, the audience, and I think that became an interesting theme all the way through. The photographs of Juliet and Lauren, someone's taking a picture, she's looking at the lens. Later on, she films herself, which is some of my favourite material, and she's just talking to us saying hello, you know, all of that. I love that stuff. And then her boyfriend gets a camera and starts filming her, and then it gets darker as, you know, the wedding material, and when they're making out and the camera's filming her. Later on, it's the paparazzi, and she's looking at the lens, and she's becoming terrified of the lens. It just seemed like an interesting visual thing with the intimacy of people filming her that she knows. She's always looking at them, and therefore always looking at us, the audience.
So the idea of the gaze was very much in your...
All the way through, it seemed to be very apparent, and it's one of the reasons maybe why it kind of pulls you in. It feels more visceral at times, because you just don't get that often when they're looking straight at you, talking to you all the way through. You become all those different people in their lives.
I wanted to ask you, I'm not going to ask about people and the reaction to the film, because I think the audience might do that. But I wanted to ask you about, one of the things that struck me when I saw the film was it's, again, the emotive power of it comes through, it kind of makes us question our own perspective, and also it makes us think about the society in which we live. And I go back to, it's actually in the programme that my colleague Jane Giles wrote for Sight and Sound, but that idea of what Kurt Cobain's mother called the stupid club, and that kind of thing in our society where we like to celebrate musicians who are stars but have that self-destructive kind of rock and roll gene or whatever it is. I wanted to ask you, what do you feel about that? Do you feel, because I think it's captured in the film. One of the things for the film for me is that it does show people around her making bad decisions or perhaps not making interventions at the right times. But it does also show Amy as quite a self-destructive person, and maybe suggests that it was quite difficult to help her. What do you
complicated.
think about that?
I suppose that's what we find. You know, there's no simple fix. There are loads of issues going on. There's loads of things going on within her, within the people around her, within, you know, what's going on within the music business, the pressures of that, and then. It just so happened when she was around, she was the star at the point when the media changed and newspapers went digital, and there's a war going on between, you know, the Mirror and the Sun at the time, and so they've all gone digital. They need more and more content, and Facebook turns up and YouTube turns up, so everyone's seeing a bad performance on YouTube and sharing it and commenting, and, you know, just all multiplied. It all was kind of it was all going on with her already. There were loads of things kind of hidden away that she's just about controlling. But she happened to be the star with the particular record Rehab at that particular moment when everything changed, you know, and it's just the perfect storm, isn't it? Which is all going to go back onto her. And the particular people in her world who at the time seemed to make decisions which were maybe not particularly great for her, but maybe good for them. That's what we found. The more we looked, the more complicated it all got. You can see why you're thinking, oh, she's going to have trouble here getting through all of this. Yeah, that's what we found. There was no simple fix. It was just everything was always not necessarily the best decision was made by people around or her. I think on this one, we pretty much started with her songs. And actually, it was just reading the lyrics and trying to figure out how to place the songs as being the spine of the movie. So for me, this is like a musical, actually, of just trying to, the narrative is built around these songs and trying to figure out what each song is about, who is it about, and trying to get as much as we can the key songs from her career and her kind of short 2 albums only and a few other covers that she did. Finding the right place and the right performance for them, and then working out what had happened in her life. So we'd have an event, you see an event, and then she picks up a guitar and sings, and you go, oh my God, that's the event I've just seen. That's kind of how it worked. We started with the music, because what we found was, unlike Senna, who always gave amazing interviews all the way through his life and career, Amy really stopped speaking when she did Back to Black. There were very few interviews around the time of Back to Black, real shortage of her opinion. And so it felt like the most eloquent kind of voice of her was always her lyrics. You know, so trying to find the right place where you put Love Is a Losing Game, trying the right place for where you put Rehab, trying the right place for What Is It About Men. And actually that's how it worked. We kind of plotted it all out. We had a timeline on the wall, and then it was always going to be the songs that came first and everything else fitted around them. And then finishing with a final performance where she basically refuses to sing and kind of almost self-destructs her career, closes down her career by not singing on stage. So the way the film began was by having everybody on board. So the producer spoke to the record label, the publishing company, and the estate. All of them were on board to make the film, because you can't make a film about a musician unless you've got songs. And then we made it very clear, saying we all know how this story ends, just so that we're all clear. We all know where it went. Everyone in general public knows how this turned out. So we're going to have to dig into that. We're going to have to show some of that, okay? And everyone was in agreement. And then we went off and we made the film, and we did our interviews. I interviewed over 100 people, spoke to a lot of people in all aspects of Amy's life, her friends, family, boyfriends, husband, band members, anyone that seemed to be connected. And then from the interviews, all of the footage came out. And all of that most of it was quite personal stuff. And then we started cutting the film, and there was a point when James and the editor, Chris, and I looked at each other and said, okay, what are we going to do? Are we going to make this film, or are we not going to make this film? Because the kind of whitewash film wasn't going to work. And either we tell the story from all of the information we're getting, or we just don't tell it. And by then we were too invested. You know, we felt we liked her too much. We kind of understood a bit more about the difficult situation that she was in. So we felt, okay, and because we make these films with archive, it's not an opinion, it's like we're just showing what was going on. We decided we had to go ahead and make the film and not point the finger at any single person or people, but just show how complicated she was and how complicated her whole situation was. And everyone else that's seen the film, everyone that was a part of it, whether they feel they come out of it well or not, has said it's very honest. And fair. And that's kind of the answer, really. We did our best to just be honest to her and show what was going on. And I think some people have kind of said they don't like it. But actually, if you listen carefully to what those people have said, it's not really what's in the film they're unhappy with. It's kind of other things that are maybe not in the film. But that was also an editorial decision. We have to bring it all down to a certain length.
So was it extremely nerve-wracking the first time you showed it to people?
I mean, it's always heavy showing the film to people. But yeah, it's definitely heavy showing the film to, her friends and her family members. It was pretty quiet in there, pretty emotional experience. And one of the things that I would say is one of the natures of this sort of film is we show the film to people at an earlier stage, excuse me, just to make sure we're getting it right. So various people we showed it to, and they would say, well, that's not quite right, and that's not quite right, and we would try and fix it. I'd rather make people a part of the process than put the film out and, everyone say you've got it all wrong,
sure.
Which people haven't been saying, so...